Hello viewer, thank you for joining us. This is CBA News Bulletin and we are broadcasting to you live from Hargeisa. My name is Yunus Deko. These are some of our top stories. Somalia confirms the third case for COVID-19 in its territory. Somalia confirms the third case of coronavirus in the country. Somaliland to develop a platform where civil servants can work from. And former Prime Minister of Somalia tests positive for COVID-19. The Somali government has confirmed a third case of COVID-19 where a foreigner has tested positive for the virus. And the government of Qatar is building a new embassy in Mogadishu, signaling the latest step in the recovery of Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, after years of violent conflict. It is planned to be the second largest embassy in Mogadishu after the Turkish embassy. The government of Qatar is building a new embassy in Somalia's capital, Mogadishu, signaling the latest step in the recovery of Somalia's capital after years of violent conflict. It is planned to be the second largest embassy in Somalia. The largest is the Turkish embassy. The Director of Planning and International Relations at the Ministry of Information in Somalia, Abdurrahman Ahmed, shared the news on his official Twitter account. In 2019, Qatar Fund for Development started to implement a range of development projects in Somalia. The Gulf State donated a fleet of 68 armored vehicles last year, and they airlifted victims of an Al-Shabaab terrorist attack from Mogadishu to Doha for emergency medical treatment last month. The government of Qatar has also started to build a new seaport at Tobio on the Red Sea coast, a potential strategic investment in an area of East Africa contested fiercely by the Gulf rivals. The Qatar Fund for Development explained that these projects are part of the ongoing efforts of the government in Doha to empower developing countries and bring stability and prosperity. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan had in 2016 opened Turkish-sponsored projects including health facilities and the largest Turkish embassy in the world. Turkey has donated hundreds of millions of dollars to war-ravaged Somalia since 2011. The new gesture by Qatar is expected to positively affect Somalia's image around the world. The country has already resumed re-engagement with the Africa Development Bank after Britain and the EU cleared $122.55 million arrears on loans owed by Mogadishu. Meanwhile, the government of Somaliland is working towards making a platform that is going to ease for workers to be working from home.
Today, the Minister of Telecommunication Abdiwali Sheikh Abdullah Yusufi made the announcement in an emergency meeting for ministerial top officials. He said the platform will allow holding video conferences instead of the face-to-face meetings. He added that it will further allow employees to work regularly from home. The minister announced that the program will be launched in the next few days. The minister also called on the private telecommunication companies to let their employees work from home for safety. The government told all its employees to stay at home and not to report for work on Thursday. Due to limited medical resources, Somaliland's government has taken numerous preventive measures to ward off a potential outbreak of coronavirus that could prove catastrophic. Last week, the government closed all schools, universities, and other learning institutions. It also banned public gatherings such as weddings, concerts, and hard chewing sessions. The government has on Thursday set an example for observing social distancing at its weekly cabinet meeting. The cabinet meeting was held at a hall in the presidential palace instead of the regular cabinet room. Cabinet ministers sat at visible distance from each other, with each minister sitting in a table by himself.
And former Somali Prime Minister Hassan Nur, popularly known as Nur Ade, has tested positive for COVID-19.
According to his family, the former Prime Minister is receiving treatment at a hospital in London, the United Kingdom. He firstly displayed the symptoms 8 days ago and was hospitalized because of other health conditions. Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khair also announced the infection of the former head of government. In a Twitter post, Prime Minister Khair said he called the family of the former Prime Minister to inform them that the Somali people and government stands with them. Nur Adde was a prime minister in Somalia in 2007 to 2008 for then President Abdullahi Yusuf Ahmed.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson is among the people who have tested positive for the novel coronavirus COVID-19, as Abdullahi Hassan reports.
The British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for coronavirus and committed himself to self-isolation. Boris Johnson said in a video statement that he had developed mild symptoms of the virus and tested positive. He announced that he will self-isolate and work from home. However, he said he will lead the government's response to the outbreak. Mr. Johnson was last seen on Thursday night, clubbing outside number 10 as part of a nationwide gesture to thank NHS staff. Mr. Johnson was tested at number 10 by NHS staff on the personal advice of England's Chief Medical Officer, Professor Chris Whitty Downing Street has said. In early February, as the UK took different approach to much of the rest of Europe in its handling of the crisis, Johnson said he was continuing to shake hands with people, even in a hospital in which he said there were patients being treated for coronavirus infections. 3 weeks later, the country was placed in a state of near lockdown, with movement restricted and all but essential workers advised not to leave their homes. The announcement on Friday came as Spain recorded 769 new deaths in the past 24 hours. That brings the total number of deaths in the country to 4,858. Meanwhile, the United States now has more coronavirus cases than any other country, with close to 86,000 infections, according to Johns Hopkins University. With these figures, the number of global infections has passed 540,000 cases.
The President of the Federal Government of Somalia, Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo, has conveyed his congratulations of the government and that of the people of Somalia towards the historic milestone witnessed in the debt relief program and reaching HIPC decision point after nearly 3 decades. President Mohamed Abdullahi Farmajo has conveyed his congratulations to the government and citizens of Somalia following the historic milestone witnessed in the debt relief program and reaching HIPC decision point after nearly 3 decades. President Farmajo further commended the high-level cooperation between the federal government of Somalia and the financial institutions, especially the World Bank, International Monetary Fund and the Africa Development Bank, while also reiterating the administration's commitment towards sustained economic recovery efforts as it's headed towards becoming a member of the Multilateral Investment Guarantee Agency to attract more investors to Somalia while assuring them of the fate of their investment in the country. President Farmajo said in a statement, and I quote, "I applaud all our efforts, especially restructuring our national financial systems over the last 3 years. This historic decision, which henceforth enables our country to re-engage with the world's financial institutions, is as a result of their tireless efforts to grow our economy and enhance financial prosperity." Furthermore, President Farmajo expressed his gratitude to international and regional financial institutions such as the World Bank, the IMF, and the Africa Development Bank. President Farmajo also acknowledged the critical input of the support from friends and partners of Somalia such as Norway, United Kingdom, Italy, Qatar, and the European Union for their continued support towards the recovery of Somalia's economy. President Farmajo commended members of the cabinet led by Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khair and the Finance Minister Honorable Abdurrahman Duale Bayle. President Farmajo also thanked the speakers and members of the both houses in the statement, business stakeholders and the general public of Somalia for their unity and solidarity in reaching the global debt consolidation and economic recovery. And that is all we have for you on this particular news bulletin. Thank you for joining us. My name is Yunus Deko. Enjoy the rest of your viewing.